Violet Hunt, an introduction. Isabel Violet Hunt was born on 28th of September 1862 in Durham. As a young child, her family moved to London, and Hunt was brought up amongst the pre-Raphaelite circle of artists. As a writer, she was comfortable and talented enough to write across several forms, including short stories, novels, memoir, and biography. Her novels are excellent examples of new woman fiction and help illustrate her activities fighting for and promoting better rights for women. Although she remained unmarried, she had lovers as notable as Somerset Maugham, H.G. Wells and Ford Madox Ford, the latter whom she lived with for a number of years. Her collections of supernatural short stories contain much of her best work, and despite her considerable talents and literary output, her reputation rests both on the literary salons she held at her home in Campden Hill, where the very best of literary society attended, and for her founding of the Women Writers' Suffrage League in 1908 and her participation in the founding of International Pen in 1921. Violet Hunt died of pneumonia at her home in Campden Hill on 16th of January 1942. She was 79 and is buried at Brookwood Cemetery. Once more, Hunt takes a common occurrence, the delivery of a telegram, as the stopping-off point for a woman to question whether she should get married. But fate has not yet dealt its final hand.
The Telegram by Violet Hunt. Her mother was dead. Her life stood altered. She would be no poorer, it was not that. She was an orphan, and all her mother had came to her. That meant £70,000, plate, linen, and the freehold of a fine old house in Lower Seymour Street that they had moved into a year before the old lady died. Things were no more altered socially than they were altered pecuniarily, for the Damerses' set naturally corresponded, as sets do, with their postal district, and Miss Alice Damer could therefore continue to command an entrance into the best circles. Only she realized that she must henceforth enjoy all these good things to the tune of a paid companion, having no poor and amenable relations handy whom she could draft into the household economy, and afterwards snub into a colourless, bare existence. She was 35, and her years did not weigh on her, except mentally. The first faint physical signs of the debacle were, so far, evident to herself alone, and then only in moods of unusual depression. She was still young enough to need a companion. Her pretty red-gold hair was as red as gold, as pretty as ever, her visits to the dentist as few, her eyes as deep, and her step as elastic, although she had given up dancing. She had made this sacrifice more from a sense of fitness, as a concession to the needs of the young girls coming up all round her, and who deserved their turn on the floor, than of social necessity. As a matter of fact, she had never been really fond of that over-energetic, disordering form of amusement. She loved the world, and going up and down in it immensely, and her way of enjoying parties was to sit out, if it was a dance, away from the music, if it was a concert, and in the back of the box, if it was a play. She was a flirt. Not an outrageous, noisy, ill-bred flirt, but what is known as a quiet flirt, with many strong and efficient strings to her bow. Did one of them, being after all only catgut or mere man, snap occasionally, that is to say, get married out of the circle of her charm, Alice, in her quiet way, promptly renewed the string, and supplied herself with a new admirer, as good at fetching and carrying as the old. In her mind, that was the chief use of admirers, to prevent one's looking neglected. Of course, one never really was. She was a woman of many affairs. She liked living, not exactly in hot water, but in water at least warm, and was seldom seen
Sample complete. Ready to continue?